HVAC 360, episode number 60, National Conference on Building Commissioning. Hey, welcome back, everybody, to another episode of HVAC 360. I'm your host, Matt Nelson. We got an exciting one for you today. We're going to be talking about the National Conference on Building Commissioning. It's in its 21st year, and this year it's going to be in Denver, Colorado. We're lucky enough to have with us Liz Fisher, who is the Executive Director at the Building Commissioning Association, or the BCA. And we have Jesse Circo, who is the NCBC Planning Committee Chair. But before we get to the topic at hand, I have a great announcement to make. I'm very proud to announce that we have a sponsor. Yes, HVAC 360's first sponsor, and it is none other than the Building Commissioning Association, the BCA. So we're very excited to have the BCA on board with us. It's one of those things. The Building Commissioning Association. If you're into building commissioning, if that's what you're doing, if you need to know more about it, it's kind of a one-stop shop for you. It's really a no-brainer to be able to attend the conference, to be a member, to hit up some of the educational programs, because that's all they do. They do building commissioning, and they do it very, very well. So the NCBC is coming up in May here. It's May 6th through the 8th. It's going to be in Denver, Colorado. If you haven't bought your tickets yet, why don't you go ahead and sign up right now to be able to do that. It's if you're listening to it after the fact, just remember that the BCA typically has a conference once a year around this time. So they're going to announce it where the next location is in Denver on May 8th. But for right now, Denver is the one and the place to be. So a lot of exciting things, a lot of great keynotes that they have, a lot of great educational programming and vendors that they have signed up for it. Also, another thing, there's a lot happening at the BCA right now. The spring webinar series is kicking off. We have the first one coming up on April 17th, so it's a pretty short order. That's going to be on variable refrigerant flow. If that's a topic that it's becoming more and more of a standard in depending on what your application is or your location of the world, this might be old hat to you. But if it's something that's a little bit foreign to you, if you don't know exactly too much about it, they do have a webinar that's coming up on April 17th. One following that is on May 15th. So they have a couple of these planned out ahead of time. May 15th, the title of that one is Controls, Loop Tuning, and Night Setback. Really that hard. And again, you get into the whole controls aspect and understanding that. So check out the website. If you're interested in joining the BCA, again, these conferences are the place to gain knowledge if you're kind of green in the industry or trying to look for new avenues of partnering or knowledge or just looking for a mentor. These are great places to go learn about building commissioning. So for all that, go to bcxa.org. They got a brand new website that's up there, and it's looking great. So it's pretty easy to find all the information that you could want to about the BCA. So thanks for them for sponsoring HVAC 360. All right. Without further ado, let's cut to the discussion with Liz and Jesse. All right. Today we're going to be talking with Liz Fisher, who is the Executive Director of the Building Commissioning Association, and Jesse Circo, who is the National Conference for Building Commissioning. He's the chair of the Planning Committee. So how are you guys doing today?
Great, thank you.
Doing very good.
All right. So I guess we're going to be talking today about the National Conference on Building Commissioning. So who can kind of tell me a little bit about what the conference is about? And, if somebody asked you, what would you say about that?
Well, I think the best way to describe the conference is that it's kind of a big tent for everyone involved in the design, the building, and the operation and maintenance of commercial buildings. We try to bring in all of those people to help us put together and discuss building commissioning. So we include not only the commissioning authorities and commissioning professionals, although it is the majority of our audience, but we do have architects, design engineers, construction professionals, controls contractors, utility representatives, researchers, all working together to look at the best practices, the latest technologies, what's new, what is really happening with commissioning in our buildings, and how can we improve and make it better. And so I think that kind of makes us unique in the industry, and it's our niche, and it has been working really well for us for the last 20 years.
Excellent. So I guess, how did this conference come about? I mean, where did it start?
So this actually started, obviously 21 years ago, and with a company called PECI. PECI was working with Bonneville Power Administration, actually, on a guideline for commissioning and trying to develop some of the best practices and ways to go about it. And they published their first version of those guidelines in, about 1989, and they were getting out there, and the utilities started picking it up. And PECI worked a lot with utilities on creating energy efficiency programs. And one of their clients, Sacramento Municipal Utility District, SMUD, said, hey, this is really cool. We think we can get a lot of energy savings out of this, and wanted to pursue it, and did. And then in about 1993, they came to PECI and said, hey, we think we need to bring all these really smart people together and have a conference. And so at that time, Nancy Benner with PECI was working with them, and Miss Debbie Dodds, and they pulled together a conference and brought people, really from all over the United States and Canada, because Canada was doing lots of cool stuff with commissioning at that time, and brought us together, and we had the first conference. There were about 120 people there, and it was a 3-day event, and a lot of great papers came out of that, and people still refer to them today.
Now, I guess PECI, in the industry, we throw around a lot of acronyms. What does PECI stand for?
It actually stands for Portland Energy Conservation, Inc. PECI has been around for, I think they're going on 35 years in the industry. They're an energy efficiency company. They design a lot of utility programs. They do a lot of work in energy efficiency research and technology. And what's the latest thing is for both commercial and residential buildings.
So would it be fair to say that the NCBC is kind of pre-BCA?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
And in fact, one of the really cool things that came out of NCBC was, I think it was about the 6th conference that we had, maybe in 97. The U.S. Department of Energy at the conference hosted a road mapping experience where we said, where's our industry going to go? And we looked at, all of the factors affecting the barriers and the positives happening in the industry. And from that process, one of the outcomes said, what commissioning really needs is its own association to be its advocate. And so there you have it. The idea of an association was formed. And from there, the Northwest Energy Efficiency Alliance funded the BCA as a small Northwest association to get it started, and eventually turned into the International Building Commissioning Association.
So now, I guess, how does, obviously there's a conference that happens, you have PECI, you have the BCA, was there a handoff? What's the relationship with this conference and the two entities?
Great question. So PECI, obviously, they helped kick off the conference and had been running it for the last 20 years. As BCA started to grow, well, actually, when they started, several PECI members at that time, including Debbie Dodds, who helped kick off the conference, and Carl Stum, were some of the founding members and helped really build the BCA. Later, PECI helped manage the BCA, and as PECI does with many things, they get it going in the industry and evolve that energy efficiency and kind of move on to the next big thing. And so they've said, BCA, here you go, you're up and running. We'd like you to carry on this torch of NCBC for us. And this is the first year that the BCA is carrying on the torch of the NCBC and the legacy that they've left to the commissioning industry. So the BCA will be carrying that on moving forward with continued support and sponsorship by the BCA, including many of PECI speakers and planning committee members. So it's a great partnership that will be moving forward.
So now, I guess, how is this conference, evolved over these 21 years? What has changed? Anything of note?
Yeah, we're going to have a session on that this year. We have one speaker that has spoken at all 21 of the conferences, Mr. Wayne Dunn, and one of the things we were talking about is not only some of the funny things, like we used to only do overhead slides, but now it's all PowerPoint. But in the beginning, we all talked. Every presentation was about the process, and trying to really define that and get the wording right for everything. To today, where we're really talking about some really cool technologies. So the depth of the conference and the advancement in the technologies has been really exciting to see. We hardly have anyone ever come and say, so what is building commissioning and why do I need it? So those kinds of evolvements have happened. We're seeing more and more building owners show up, more and more architects that are paying attention to it. And of course, LEED and the U.S. Green Building Movement has played a big role in building commissioning and how it's evolved over the years. So at the core, it is still about building commissioning and improving it, and all those shades along the way. Certainly in the beginning, it was about new construction. Today, it's definitely probably a heavier bent on existing building and ongoing commissioning and monitoring-based commissioning, where you didn't hear so much about that in the beginning. And probably what we're going to see more of is whole building commissioning and more towards the building enclosure and envelope.
So now, I guess, the conference itself, how is it pulled off? I mean, is it pulled off by some singular team that works for the Building Commissioning Association, or obviously, Jesse, you're part of a committee. Is that committee responsible for pulling this off?
It's a little bit of both. We actually, we do have host committees. In the past, it was we would have sponsors that would be our host committees, the utilities that would vie to have it in their city. So now we're looking at some different possibilities within the BCA and how we bring in others to help build it.
Yeah, maybe I'd just add to that a little bit that we've got a great membership within the Building Commissioning Association, and that membership's organized by regional chapters. And so from a national planning committee standpoint and working with our BCA staff, we work with the regional chapters and in the host location to be able to really gear the conference towards the geography where we're going to host the event. And that from a planning perspective really helps us engage the local community, potential sponsors in that area, and then make sure that we're connecting speakers to that locale and keeping this really relevant for those that are coming to the conference from the local location, as well as keeping that national planning committee engaged to keep it also relevant to our national membership and to others coming into this conference.
Now, I guess as far as where it's been held in the past, you have Nashville, Cincinnati, Chicago have been like the three last cities that you've held it in. What sort of selection criteria, what sort of process do you go through in selecting a committee or a city?
Yeah, so the regional chapters get really engaged in that process, all the way from we have our chapters submit requests to host the National Conference on Building Commissioning, and we take that process pretty seriously and look to the chapters to see who has the best plans for potential locations, how they're going to engage their own chapters as well as other organizations in their geography, and then also look for fresh ideas and innovative ideas from our chapters to get going within the conference. And then, with that regional chapter, look for geographies in the specific location that's really accessible to people that are coming in out of town, and then also that locations that offer some amenities and interests that can, we're all going to a conference, but there's certainly some benefits to traveling and being able to attend in locations you don't usually go to.
So, I mean, if somebody was interested, say, in a city of kind of attracting the next NCBC, what's the process there? I mean, is it just talking to the planning committee or what?
Yeah, I think the planning committee, but also visiting our website for the National Conference on Building Commissioning, understanding a little bit more about what the conference is about, and then reaching out to the contacts available on our website to express that interest. And then we would certainly get engaged both from the regional chapter for our BCA as well as the planning committee to talk more about what amenities and reasons we would look to your location to host the next conference.
Okay, great. So now, as far as attendance goes, what's it like for this conference?
Yeah, so we typically have somewhere around 200 to 250 attendees, and over the last couple of years, we've been increasing that attendance. And about a third of the people that we have coming are commissioning providers, but a bulk of our attendees are made up of industry professionals and people that are engaged in commissioning in one way or another from a really wide range, which includes utilities, architects, engineers, building owners, building operators, and really quite a few other people that work with or around commissioning in one way or another. And as part of our organization of the conference and looking at the content of the conference, we're really looking to provide value to the building industry as a whole and be able to bring in people of these different backgrounds so that we're able to learn from each other and basically get these different perspectives on commissioning.
Excellent. And I guess just to kind of let people know, I've taken a look at the BCA website, and you do have the last three conferences at those cities listed, and it's nice to know that you actually do have the presentations available for people to download. So just as a FYI to the audience, if you go to the bcxa.org website, you can take a look at some of the past meetings and some of the presentations there.
Absolutely.
So, and I must add this, that I know that I've taken a look at the BCA website recently, and it is looking very good. So
thank you. We've been working on it.
So now, I mean, as far as the current show goes, we have the next one coming up. It's going to be in Denver, Colorado. It's the 21st conference, as you mentioned, Liz, and it actually happens May 6th through the 8th. So what else can you tell me about the conference?
Yeah, so we've got a great agenda this year, and we typically don't align our conferences to a specific theme, but really look to be able to cover both a breadth of topics that can give people that are new to commissioning or looking to get a broad range of information about the topic, get them interested and then provide that information to them, but as well as depth. And for the depth part, we really look to provide some technical concepts, present case studies, and give updates regarding policy and regulations and business practices around commissioning.
So I guess in attending the conference, aside from those educational sessions, what can some people expect?
Yeah, so in addition to our typical focus areas, this year we've got some really exciting topics. We're doing a technology showcase where our attendees can get a deeper dive into some of the technologies available to the commissioning industry. And then we've got a really broad range of topics this year that are really providing some good ideas around commissioning, ranging anything from commissioning of tunnel systems and some utility participation and more information around incentives and rebates from utilities for commissioning. And then lastly, I'd say we've got we're really fortunate this year to have a good turnout of owners and international speakers that will be there to give us some unique perspectives on commissioning.
Yeah, I noticed that you had Henry as your keynote speaker to lead off the conference. You had Henry Green of the National Institute of Building Science being your keynote speaker, and I know I've met Henry a couple of times, and he's a really great speaker. So.
Yeah, we're really excited to have Henry there, and there's a lot of hot topics regarding commissioning right now, and one of those is around commissioning of diverse systems and really looking at buildings as a whole. And Henry's going to really help kick us off thinking about building envelopes, and then I think that'll set the stage really well for as we dive into other topics like fire protection systems and electrical systems and lighting and daylighting as part of our agenda. And then I'd also note we've got Bob Cohn of Navigant coming for our lunch keynote, and he'll be talking to another hot topic, which is where is building commissioning going as an industry on a whole. And Navigant recently published a great study talking about the projection for commissioning to be a $4.4 billion business by 2020 around the world. So a lot of movement in commissioning, and really looking forward to Henry Green and Bob Cohn helping to give us some perspectives into those areas.
Excellent. Now, what about obviously you also have exhibitors that are present at the conference. What are some of the exhibitors that are going to be showing off this year?
So we have a great list of exhibitors this year. We have Architectural Testing that will be there this year, who does a lot for the building enclosure and envelope. I think they'll be a good one. We have Building Start that will be there, some software for building commissioning providers. The other one that will be there is Commissioning or CX Ally, another great software company. Chinook Systems, again, they've exhibited many times at NCBC and are always a hit. We'll have Eaton Energy Solutions there. Evergreen will be there. Facility Grid, of course, McKinstry. Onset for data loggers, they have been a long time exhibitor with us. We have Pi Engineering, a local engineering firm. Systech, and they'll also be, Systech and Chinook are two of our technology showcase speakers, so it'll be good to have them there. Thermoscan Inspections. So we have quite a good group this year of exhibitors showing up and in our technology showcase. Do have a couple spots left open for a few more exhibitors, but I think we will be selling the show out this year, so that feels really good this year too.
Well, that's definitely good news. Now, so I guess, is there any, aside from the educational programs and the exhibitors, is there any sort of, committees that meet or any sort of BCA activities that are more, geared toward, the inner workings? Do those occur at this event?
We don't do a lot of those at this event. We have the one only kind of BCA event is, well, actually there's two. But we do hold our annual meeting, and it's the night before, on the 6th, before the main kickoff. And the BCA will be celebrating its 15th year as an association. And so we have that meeting. It is scheduled to be a really fun night, some great celebration things happening that night, including a really great skit with our executive committee that they're doing. So that will be fun. And then the BCA is also hosting its first annual Education and Scholarship Fund. Many of our chapters have been trying to put scholarship funds together for training of the new workforce. We know our industry is desperate to get people interested and involved and thinking about becoming commissioning authorities. And so we want to really start working on creating the scholarship fund and creating more educational opportunities. It's another partnership, actually, that BCA has with PECI. We've created a pretty good training program. So that's something that BCA is really focused on this year, is creating more training and scholarship opportunities. We have our certification, but we really need to drive that. So those would be the two BCA things happening. And then we have one of the things we wanted to do is create our networking time, because we know that's important at these events. Education is the main reason we go, but it's sometimes those hallway conversations and those networking times where we really get to learn and make connections with our peers that we can rely on after the conference. And so we have a baseball game between the Rockies and the New York Yankees that I think will be really fun. That we've made some arrangements for participants to be able to go to that too. So some definitely great networking opportunities, as well as some really fantastic educational opportunities for all the attendees this year.
Excellent. Now, if anybody was interested in that scholarship, how would they go about contacting somebody?
So they would need to contact us here at the headquarters office. We will have forms. We're just finalizing all of the information right now, getting all of our, I's dotted and T's crossed with the legal process. So we should have all of those ready later this summer. And so if they want to get that in, get their name in here, contact the headquarters office, and we will make sure they get the applications when they're finalized this summer. Great.
Now, so for future shows, I guess, how far in advance are you planning these out?
Yeah, so we start planning at least a year and a half out, sometimes a little bit longer if there's an interest in a specific location. We'll start talking to regional chapters about the planning elements, but we're already starting and getting engaged in next year's planning activities and looking to be able to announce the location at our conference this year. And Liz, I think you've got some activities around that right now too, right?
Yeah, in fact, I'm heading out to the Northeast to look at several locations, several different hotels, so that we can make our announcement on May 8th about where the conference will be in 2014.
Excellent. So, the Northeast, that's about as much of a tease as we get.
Yeah, that's about as far as I can go right now.
So I guess if you're interested in speaking, obviously you have this one all set up and locked up with a great schedule. Now, but if you're interested in speaking at future events, how do you go about getting in contact with that? Is it all through the website or what?
Yeah, we do a call for abstracts in the fall, and that's an email that goes out to quite a few of industry professionals that we've got a list for. It's also posted online on our website. But what we typically do is in early to mid-September put out that announcement, and then look for abstracts by around the middle of November, so that we can firm up our agenda and confirm speakers as soon as possible for the conference. If someone's interested in speaking, I'd say please feel free to go to our conference website. There's contact information at the bottom, and at least get your name on the list as an interested participant for our future conferences.
Okay, excellent. So I'm assuming that if they wanted more information on getting information about the conference, just go to the BCA website. Would that be the?
Yes.
Okay, and then again, that's the bcxa.org. Any last words that you have about the conference?
The only thing I'd say is I encourage, obviously, everyone to come out and attend, but it really is meant to be for everyone. We do encourage a wide variety of attendance to be at our conference. We do want to hear from everyone. We do encourage that we look at all sides of the commissioning industry, because we want to make sure that we are hearing from everyone to make sure that we are getting the best possible results for the people that live in our buildings, and that we can keep them as healthy as possible. So please join us.
And I've been going to the conference for a number of years now, and from a brand new commissioning provider trying to learn the industry best practices and methods to someone that's been doing this for a few years and trying to get a little bit more in depth on the technical side, as well as network with my fellow providers and others in the industry. It's been a great value to me, and I'm looking forward to meeting some new people and seeing some new faces this year.
All right. Well, I appreciate, Liz, you being on the show, and as well as you, Jesse.
Thanks, Matt. We appreciate the time today.
Thanks, Matt.
All right, and we're back. Thanks again for Liz Fisher and Jesse Circo for giving some of their day out to talk to us about the NCBC. It's one of these really interesting kind of conferences, the way it's developed through PECI and some of the topics that they cover, and hearing Jesse talk about some of the keynote speakers, some of the stealing their thunder a little bit, but how the building commissioning industry in the U.S. here is growing by leaps and bounds, and I think I always talk about the communication between the engineer and the contractor, and that those two kind of disciplines are kind of shifting apart, and it's really the job of the building commissioning building commissioning authority to really kind of start bridging those gaps. So thanks again for listening. Thanks for the Building Commissioning Association for sponsoring the show. I really would like to emphasize that I appreciate them sponsoring the show in the fact that I pay for the show out of pocket just for the benefit of all your listeners, because I know that you're the kind of people that I want to talk to and kind of enrich, because you are the aggressive learners that we try to share our experiences with here on HVAC 360. So, in that regard, I really love you to show your appreciation for the BCA. Send them a note, drop them a line, just saying thank you. If nothing else, saying thank you for sponsoring HVAC 360. We appreciate your support. Other than that, if this was something that you really liked or you thought somebody might need to know about this, there's a lot of different things happening. Just share the show with them. That would be the best thing that you could do, aside from thanking our sponsors, of course. But if you want, other than that, give me some comments on iTunes. I always appreciate that and love reading those. Or if you want to just email me. If you have show suggestions or you comment on the episodes, you can send those to me as well, matt@buildingx.co. Or you can go to the website, check things out, obviously show notes, the links, things like that. That's at buildingx.co. Follow me on Twitter, BuildingX, and, of course, LinkedIn, Matt Nelson, PE. You can find me there as well. So I'd love to connect with you. That's it for this week. Thanks for tuning in. Tune in next week. We have a lot more shows, exciting shows planned for you. So if you, as always, remember, know what you build and share what you know.